Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Anhar. Anhar always presents you with episodes that are of interest to you, topical of the day. So, public life is a matter of concern for everybody. What are the issues concerning public life? What is the role of decency in public and private life? What business do you have to offend somebody on the road or in a shared public space for no reason? So these are the matters that may arise as we delve into this discussion about role of decency in public and private life. We have Dr. Ibrahim Zakaria Musa and Dr. Abstar Yusuf. Welcome, and thank you very much for making it to this program. So, may I start with Dr. Sattar? Role of decency in public and private life. What do we mean by role of decency? What is public life? What is private life? What has this to do with decency?
Yeah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajmain. Decency is a great topic for us, especially at this time. And it's timeless, essentially. But right now, I think we are in the depth of a situation where we need more decency. And in that regard, I haven't explained what decency is, but I think we all, when we say decency, we understand what it connotes. So decency is another word for good behavior, respect for others, all these things. And decency is what we expect of every human being so that we can live in society in harmony and joy, safety, happiness, whatever you want to call it. Some people call decency as the moral glue of society. It is that which holds society together. So if decency declines, then society disintegrates, it divides up. And that doesn't augur well for development or progress or whatever you want to call. Society is a mix of communities, and the communities can be holistic and integral to a way of life only with everybody dealing with each other in respect in their personal relationships. So those personal relationships are actually an arrangement or it's a concord that has been built of two people or two sides which have different roles, and each one's role have to be played. And if one of them doesn't play that role well, then there is discord. Obviously, everything falls apart. So it is the confluence of both parties playing their role that makes society run smoothly. And what makes it so important for society to run smoothly is because that's the way we can live on this earth. That's the way we have to, because people are gregarious humans, gregarious animals, so to say. So unless we know how to deal with each other in a community, we will not have that kind of unity. And that's why good behavior, good manners are so important, whether it is in private life or in public life. In private life, obviously, the whole idea of trust and empathy and, of course, healthy relationships, all these things come to bear. And it is that which creates the harmony that we can feel sense of warmth, comfort, how would you say, safety altogether, not in danger, not in in a feeling that we will be maligned or having to deal with difficult situations. And in public life, obviously, public life, this is about civic harmony. That civilized behavior is about good manners, and civilized behavior brings about harmony in society, and in a way we can call democratic integrity also, because we are living in a democracy, and the democracy means everybody must work together to create the unity that is required for progress to happen. And I think it's I think good enough for us here to say that it protects individuals and systems so that we can thrive.
So, decency is quite a relative term as well, and it takes different level of understanding or different interpretations based on the cultural nuances. Like, I mean, if you interpret it in the light of liberalism or subjective morality, so decency changes from culture to culture in public places sometimes. But there are some agreeable indecent behavior which are probably universal when it comes to wronging somebody, hurting somebody, or abusing somebody, harassing. So these are very distinct and very clear-cut excesses one may commit to violate public decency. So in the arena of Islamic civilization that brought about civilization proper that we enjoy today, how do we stay put as far as this public decency is concerned without changing our attitudes, values today, and different set of values for tomorrow? How do we stay consistent? Why should we stay consistent, if at all?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem. Thank you very much for having me again in this very important program on her. And the topic that we are discussing is very relevant to talk about repeatedly, because it's something that is concerned to each and every one of us. I remember years back, perhaps the early years of 2000, very famous magazine we all know, Reader's Digest, conducted a survey or social experiment to among the South Asian cities and Southeast Asian cities, the most rudest city, to find out the most rudest city among these cities located in this particular area that we belong to in South Asia and Southeast Asia. And the survey report is already published on the internet, although I don't want to mention what was the result, or which city came the most rudest city out of this survey. So it was a social experiment just to see the common behavior, how people treat with each other. So in this survey, what they did was taking those who have involved in this social experiment, carrying a bundle of papers and deliberately leaving it on the ground or dropping it on the ground, pretending that it slipped out of his hand, just to see how people help him to carry it back to him, or even when he's those who are involved in into a office area, whether they are being attended properly, and also when they go for shopping, how those shopkeepers treat them, whether they say thank you, or how they take the money, the way how they collect money. So each and every bit of actions was being monitored to see which city is most rudest city. Now, I guess if the same survey conducted in this particular area called Male or society, how would be the result in terms of exercising our decency and showing our moral standard? Because, as you have mentioned, the ethical values is the most important of characters that define you and me and everybody living with us in this society as a human being, to identify you as a human being. And this is the distinct character that differentiates between a human and an animal, that you are a decent person, you are a civilized person. So in Islam now, decency is regarded a very fundamental principle that permeates both public and private life, because the akhlaq, what we call, is quite directly related to our creation, because we call our creator Khaliq, and the creator the Khaliq, and Makhluq, the creatures Makhluq. So the word Khaliq, Makhluq, and Khulq, the akhlaq, they are very much related, interconnected, these words, which means that the one who is exercising those akhlaq means that your inward causes and your outward action is the consequences of your inward cause. The more your soul is purified, the more your action be also purified or becomes pure.
So there is a direct correlation.
Direct correlation. The more your soul is filthy, the out result will be what we call indecency. The more you are free from corruption, your action also will be free from corruption. The more you are corrupted in yourself, your action also will be corrupted. So it is interconnected relations between your soul and your action. So Islam has given utmost importance on developing your character, your ethical standard. And this is what our Prophet, peace be upon him, rightly said, that the purpose of his mission is to complete the most outstanding position of moral behavior. So if you have quitted those good qualities to be a human being, what can we expect from you when you have left behind all those good qualities to become a very decent person, a decent human being, what else can you offer to the community? Now, when you are exercising decency, it means you are presenting yourself to the society as a good human being. So when you have left behind those good qualities, so what is the difference between you and an animal where you don't have those good characters to present yourself as a good human being?
But Ibrahim, inside you said there are those who have bad qualities. Inside, it's reflected in the actions which are bad.
Definitely.
But there are those who have bad qualities and they behave very nicely outside.
So this is what we call hypocrites. Now, labeling, it is just like labeling a musk out of the bottle.
Musk?
Musk out of the bottle, labeling musk, and pouring inside a venom or
something stinky?
Those stinky substances.
But you don't know these people. You can't know these people that they're having bad intentions.
Exactly. This is the dangerous part of any human being. That is why Quran very rightly described that the quality of those people that we call
so to stay away from hypocrisy and to be consistent in public and private life is also part of the responsibility of us and individuals to present ourselves free from hypocrisy so that we are perceived as who we are, not somebody different from. I should not allow myself to be perceived as somebody else when I'm really not that person. So I should present myself who I really am and not pretend to be somebody else. So we should stay away from pretense, hypocrisy.
Yeah, I guess the hypocrisy will ultimately come out as a betrayal, for instance.
Yeah.
Right? There would be, so that means people will ultimately get to know these people who have bad intentions, but they try to show or perform very nicely outside. But when the time comes for betrayal, they are ready to betray. Right? So that's another category of people. But I think overall, as you say, Ibrahim, that's what I think we are told also, unless we change ourselves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change the status of us, of our community of people. So, so I just want to get that clarified, that's all.
I would like to tweak this aspect of compliance, for example. Compliance is, I think, also one of the ways we could uphold public decency. For example, speeding is an offense, a traffic violation, speeding.
If it is above the limit.
If it is above the limit. But if speeding, not speeding is also an offense, if it is a highway, for example, when everybody else is speeding, when you are very slow, you become a nuisance.
Danger.
You endanger others' lives because of not speeding sometimes. You imagine, for example, on a highway, if somebody goes really slow, what happens to the other people? What happens to the traffic? And also, for example, in a masjid or in a place where, for example, sitting on the floor is the norm, while one is not able to sit on the floor, may opt to sit on a chair, but that is an exception. That is an inability on the part of the person. But so if the person chooses to use a chair just because he can sit on a chair, he is actually violating that public decency that is to be observed in the masjid, and also the rules of using the masjid. There's a place of worship. So we tend to see lots and lots of chairs in the masjids these days, and people just enjoy it.
I just took this
But that's-
diversion. That was just for a
Right.
clarification. I didn't want to put you off track or anything like that. Meaning you continue your ask
Yeah,
your
that's.
question.
I think my point is that observing the rules of the game, or in other words, fair play, if it is sports, or fair play in our daily lives, and not violate the playbook that we have. I mean, playbook in the sense that we have to go, if it is business, we have to be honest in our dealings, and we should not harm others. For example, it is public decency for us to declare what we do, and not, as you said, hypocrisy should not be there in our dealings. We should be very open about what we do, and not intend. For example, that leads to unintended consequences. Sometimes in good faith, but the consequences are deadly and very hazardous. So we by complying with the rules, by being law abiding, and we observe public decency and respect safety of others, don't we?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Please.
No, I think the whole purpose of this discussion is having in the background of our discussion what we observe in our nation, of any community. Now, we are a part of a community, and if we can feel a sense of unease or disdain or anger, hatred, resentment, all these feelings are abounding around in our society. That part is what concerns us for us to come to talk. This is not an intellectual discussion. It is a problem-related discussion. And our endeavors, all the topics are like that. It has to have an existential relationship with our lives, what we are leading. So if we have a declining standard of public discipline, as we have also published a document in 2022, I think, the declining standard of public discipline in Maldives is exactly talking about a lack of decency that's pervading our society. Now, what are the consequences, as you say, of what this brings? It is slowly fraying our society. It's disuniting our society. It's dividing our society in such a way that we are finding it very difficult to talk to some people also. Many, many reasons, obviously, right? With the advent of a democracy, which is supposed to bring people together, discussions on, as Ibrahim says, those points that we don't disagree with also can be brought to the table and discussed. That is the essence of democracy. And that's the essence of Amrum Shura Bainahum also. And so why don't we do that? That's what we want to dwell. Why has it dwindled? Why has this decency or this approach to coming together, coming to consensus, has been violated? Why are we doing that? And so we have to look at the reasons why it's happening. Without knowing the reasons, we cannot find solutions. Because based on the reasons we have to. And you say consequences. We don't know the consequences of everything. Now, if I get upset with somebody might react and just say, oh, don't be so upset with me. I didn't mean to say anything. But the other person might take it as a grudge and hold it against him and never talk to that person. Even in families, we have family feuds which go from generation to generation. And that's the danger of not respecting each other. Because we are not supposed to be robots. We have individuality. Ibrahim doesn't think on the same topic as I would exactly the same way. So am I to sort of push him away when he says the essence of leadership and camaraderie is to listen and see that other person's point of view also. It's not to just deny that point of view. So decency is about coming to common terms, living life in a way that you can entertain another person's point of view also.
And this has led to cancel culture.
Well, that's a new term.
That is,
I guess most people don't know.
It has come to the fore.
What does it really mean?
Cancel culture is about canceling people that we don't like. If I don't like somebody, we cancel each other.
That person is not existent in my mind.
Yeah, we cancel. We don't want that. We don't want that person to be part of our interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So we can delve into detail. Just a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This conversation is on public decency, role of public decency in public and private life. I beg your pardon. Role of decency in public and private life. So, Dr. Zakaria, what has decency to do with uniting people and respecting each other's rights? Does it contribute public decency to respecting each other's rights and does it contribute to social cohesion of a society, especially society like Maldives, a Muslim society?
Yeah, each and everyone knows very well that there is a reaction to each and every action. It is a time-tested theory for each
cause and effect.
Yeah, cause and effect. For each and every action, there is a reaction. No matter how smaller or bigger the action that you are carrying forward, it has an effect. What you sow, so shall you reap. We all are living in a society where each and everyone has to fulfill an obligation, as we have rights and responsibilities. If you are enjoying rights, you have to fulfill responsibilities as well. So the scope of ethics from an Islamic perspective is all about a relationship between yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Creator. Behave well, because Allah's attributes, all His attributes are very beautiful attributes, according to our belief. So from that belief, we are supposed to exercise our behaviors and actions accordingly. And also the scope of our ethics leads and helps us or guides us to establish a very harmonious relationship between you and your fellow citizens who are living around you, and also a relationship between and your environment. So this is what we call a decency and upholding modesty. And modesty itself is an ethical compass that will guide you to the right way of living. and live within your environment.
Modesty in what aspects you are referring to?
Modesty, which I means that upholding all the good characters that's supposed to have in yourself as a human being and as a Muslim as a whole. So that
modesty of dress code as well.
In terms of dress code, in terms of the way how you express
speech.
Your speech, the selective words that you are expressing, the way how you deal with others, all these are issues that that matters a lot.
We tend to cancel others out with no toleration. To listen to the opposing views, or we don't seem to entertain any different views or different stand on, even on, of course as human beings we have different views, but we tend to cancel just because culturally we may differ, we may have different views. So this, especially among young people, nowadays there is this cancel culture. You don't want to live with, or you don't want to be around with these people, and you have to cut yourself off and completely break off. What do you say about this? How detrimental is it to our society and to themselves, those who cancel each other out?
Definitely, we're talking about the cohesiveness of a society. It will definitely interrupt to form a society as a whole. We cannot be identified as a human society if we are having that kind of indecent behaviors in ourselves, cutting off from the rest of the people, because after all, you as a human being cannot live isolated life, not engaging with others. So respecting, and when there are situations where you are obliged to exercise your tolerance, you have to exercise those attributes as well. Otherwise, what's the point of talking about the beauty of tolerance when you cannot have that kind of that level of tolerance when you are tested in certain situations? So those are the qualities that we require to have to present ourselves as a good human being. Now, for example, if I ask each and every Maldivian, how you are going to define you as a Maldivian? How do you are going to define as a very rude person? Define as a person who do not want to live with others as harmonious life, to have that kind of harmonious and cohesive society. So these are the areas that we need to think of when we talk about decency as a human society.
In observing public decency, especially in public decency, private decency, of course, it is confined to one's home or one's private space. But people who are outside of that space will not be able to comment on how one lives, dresses, or speech, dress, how one maintains dress, how one's other habits are. But in public life, we have a responsibility to live in such a way so that others are neither offended nor others' rights are infringed upon. So in that respect, when we hurl epithets, or when we justify our indecent behavior, being indecent, those who are noticed as indecent have a justification always to their behavior. Why they behaved the way they behaved? Because he is a radical, he is an extremist, or he is a fanatic, and that's why I'm cutting him off. That's why I'm breaking off with him. He may be a relative, he may be a friend earlier, but I'm no longer with him. We don't share anything common anymore. But is that the attitude to heal such relationships, or could we go beyond that? Could we go? Can we exhibit more, much more mature attitude towards life?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you're defining those qualities of a person who tries to cancel other people are indecent behavior by itself. That person might think he's doing things that he feels is right, but right is defined by the public. The common norms of a society is what defines what good behavior is. Even in a Western culture, in a liberal culture also, the way you behave according to those liberal ways are okay if that society accepts it. But we are talking about a Muslim society, Islamic society, where we have the glorious Quran telling us these are the norms of life, behavior. Foundational norms are given, and that's why we are calling it objective morality. So I think as Muslims there's no difficulty in trying to define what decency is. Decency is given in our book.
In our traditions.
And our traditions, okay. So that we don't have to be, suspicious, or let's say we will not be confused about what morality is. I think our Durusul Akhlaq tells us what morality is. Our Ta'lim Diyana tells us what our morality is. All these things, right? And all the adab that we had learned when we were children by our parents, all these are all aligned with Islamic principles. So if we go against those principles, then we are going away from the path of decency. And we call indecency. Okay, it might be okay for somebody who is on a liberal path, but that is not decency for us, right? And I think we have talked about this in another earlier one also, about objective morality and subjective morality. And I think that is where the decency comes. Now, in a civilization, you have to behave in a way that civilization has defined your norms of engagement with each other, right? And if you go against those, then you will be iconoclastic. You'll be,
outcast.
You'll be an outcast, essentially, right? Although we don't want to say that, but that person who behaved the way you defined, he will not be liked by people. And maybe he says, I don't care what other people feel, but I behave the way I want. But society will not accept that. And if society doesn't accept that, the consequences of that will happen. He will not be sought after by anybody. He will not be asked for any advice. He will not be... All those things are there. And because of that. So now if this kind of people increase in our society, then of course their views will become normalized essentially. And if that happens, that's a much worse decline, because then you have your mind has accepted it as normal, and then that's okay. But in reality, you have gone down without realizing how a deep hole you have gone into from the moral perspective.
The saddest part of any human being is that if they do not know what are the shortcomings in themselves, it's a very desperate situation.
Blindness to their own faults.
Yeah, because each and every human being, regardless of his piety or educational level, we all commit on and off.
We all sinners,
at
essentially.
different level of time, different life spaces, some shortcomings and mistakes. But if you do not realize by yourself what are the shortcomings and mistakes that you have in yourself, then this is a huge mistake and a dangerous part and hopeless situation where nobody can have a high hope to eradicate all those shortcomings and become respectful citizen. So it is very important to each and every one of us to deep dive in ourselves to find out what are the shortcomings in ourselves and what you mean by decency and indecencies. These meanings you have to arrive, or you have to explore by yourself. What am I supposed to do in terms of being a very decent person or very civilized person, and to identify myself as a human being?
There's a very fine line between decency and indecency and social crimes or social offenses. So indecency sometimes may not be regarded as a social offense or as an offense in its true sense of the word. So it is very subtle sometimes. And if you leave it as a society, if we leave it that way, just if we condone it, just because it is so common that everybody is that way, it incidentally eventually leads to promotion of something or the other. It can be, if it is decency, it will be some goodness we are promoting. If it is indecency, then it becomes promotion of some evil, some shamelessness, some indecency proper. So, for example, in dress code, sometimes we have, especially I find, once in sports has nothing to do with sports, and being an athlete has nothing to do with being to lay yourself, to reveal your contours of your body. So by wearing extremely slinky, tight-fitting clothes, and by doing so, of course, you being a daughter or somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's wife, somebody's husband, you are belittling yourself in front of others, and you are stooping low in terms of decency by violating the norms of modesty.
Whose modesty?
Your own modesty, by wearing very revealing clothes. Revealing in the sense that not see-through, but revealing because of its tightness.
But it's a liberal person living
Yeah.
in another country,
And then liberal.
who is living in
And then,
another society.
Of course, that liberalism, you, for example, you wearing that as a liberal person, you have every right to do it. But your liberalism, your liberal attitude, or you exercising that liberty is offending me and breaking my modesty as well.
Yeah.
Forcing me to take glances
That
or
is in
cast
Islamic
glances
society. That's
in the
in
Islamic
Islamic
society.
society.
That is why,
So what I'm saying is, there's no we have very in a very organized way, we are promoting this kind of I wouldn't say there is any lewdness to it, but I think there is a obvious public indecency attributable to it because of the way how especially our women folk nowadays exposing themselves before men and women.
Yeah, actually, you have to have a bit of awareness, of understanding how to behave when you are in a public sphere of your life and you in your private sphere of life. Because when you are stepping into the public spheres of life, you are not alone in that sphere, in that space you are occupying. Because there are a lot of people. For that, you must have a bit of understanding to have regard for others. If you don't have a slightest regard for others, when you are stepping in the public sphere of your life, what can we expect from him? So you have to have, boundaries between your public and your private spheres of your life. If you don't have that kind of understanding between these two spheres, then I don't think we can hit.
Could it be a mistaken cultural appropriation because of misjudgment on our part that it is being civilized for us to expose ourselves being an athlete because it is happening in some other culture?
In Maldives?
In Maldives?
Yes, obviously. Maldives being a 100% Muslim country, we have to really take our this decency with a real seriousness, because and when you're young, you don't really know the nuances of Islamic values and another value. They are universal human beings now. We have gone to school in a foreign country, and we have professors who never separated out when we talked about liberal democracy, about religions, that Islam was never specified as special. It was just presented just like any other religion, And so in our hearts and minds also, we have come to see those as, that's the way it should be. Islam is no different. But when you really dive into Islam, being a Muslim, and every Muslim should, because we should not be depending on somebody else to tell us all the time. Because fascinatingly, Islam has a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a personal relationship with Allah. That's unlike any other religion. So my point is, when you're talking about of decency, you have to separate out what they consider decent and what we consider decent. They meaning the liberal democracies, right? And what we as Muslim democracy, what we consider as decent. Obviously, it is miles apart. But I cannot, for instance, make judgment on somebody else to say they should not do it because it's their life. But if a Muslim was doing it, I might be able to make a comment. I wouldn't say, no, you can do it as you like. But if you are a Muslim, then you have to have some boundaries. That is very obvious, okay? But more than that, I think today's discussion, we have to say something about what social progress is also. Now, the whole purpose of having a good society, a good community, a good education, health, and political system is for the nation to go ahead, progress. Again, progress, that's another whole topic. But the point is, if you want to go ahead in life, you have to have certain foundational moralities, foundational decencies. And I think those things are universal. Any society will have this. The aspect of empathy, right? You must know the other person, feel for the other person's well-being, or what he says. I cannot just arrogate my own views to somebody else and say, I know best. You have to listen to other person, right? And the other one is basic respect. You have to respect the other person. Whether it's a liberal democracy or non-liberal, we respect each other. I see my own educational life, very well-mannered people who I met. They were not Muslims, but they had good manners. But so that much is there. And the other thing is about suppressing cruelty. you must be just, you must be fair, right? And that is a very important moral imperative for us. Why are there laws except to enforce justice? So those three elements have to be there, and within that we derive our morality, we derive our decency. So somebody I can talk very that one you mentioned, who is completely okay with nobody caring about what he says. Now that person I cannot accept, because that is way outside my
Cultural bounds.
boundary of norms which define decency for me. And so that person may live that way. But the point here is, in our nation, there are lots of people who are slowly going in that way,
Right.
into that pattern of behavior and life. But it is our responsibility to say, hold on, let's look at ourselves, as you say, introspect and say, am I a good Muslim? Am I a good Maldivian, as you said? What defines me as a Maldivian? I said, I think the religion is a very big part of Maldivian, and the way we eat, and the way the food we eat, the way we behave, how I comport with our friends and islanders and everything is also another way. Anyway, so that part I think will have to be, that is the essence of community. Otherwise we'll fall apart.
For want of time, we will conclude with Dr. Zakaria's
We
remarks.
have to always remember one important thing, that you are not alone. Once you are born to this world, you came to this world, you are representing so many people around you. You are representing your family, your parents, and as well as a whole, your country as a whole. So this representation has to be always keep in our mind. If we are presenting ourselves as a good human being.
Dr. Ibrahim Zakaria Musa, thank you very much. Dr. Astar Yusuf, thank you so much. No doubt, public indecency and indecency itself has been normalized and universalized. But is it right? That is the question we should ask ourselves. Thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum.